55%. That's what the European Commission put forward as its target for emission reduction. 55% less reduction emissions than we've got right now in Europe. This number is huge. It's a challenge for all of us, but it's especially challenging for industry and energy-intensive industry. But just look at the numbers. Industry represents full 25% of all energy, and yet at the same time, it only gets 16% of that amount from renewable sources. So there's an absolute obligation to save energy there. Now, up until now, and that means over the past few decades, industry has done a lot. It has reduced emissions considerably, but they have actually been flatlining for the last 15 to 20 years. So just going on the way that we've been working before will not lead us to the 55% reduction in the end. What we need is to really look into energy cooperation. Energy cooperation where different industrial sites, different industrial installations can actually exchange energy flows, move together, and really make progress when it comes to emission reductions. This idea of clustering is not new. The idea of energy cooperation has gotten a foothold a couple of years ago when we started talking, for example, about energy communities, but it has not yet been successful at scale, and especially not at industrial scale. Yet we see that industrial sites and business parks, places where companies are already located, where they all already come together, that they play a key role in the energy transition. A key role because they are very energy intensive consumers, but also because they could be hubs for energy flows from their surroundings, because they could play a key role in the entire ecosystem around them. And that's the notion of an ecoregion. An ecoregion is an area built and conceived of around the business park where energy flows come together, where energy management is widely practiced, and where renewables, district heating, cooling systems are simply present. ACES supports industrial sites and clusters in becoming ecoregions. Why? Because we've got this concrete target to reduce their CO2 emissions by at least 10%. Imagine that you could cut off 10% of 1/4 of the energy consumption in the European Union. That would be a huge contribution toward the 55% target. Another important word here is that we support industrial sites and business parks. We don't take over. We don't tell them exactly how they should do things to fit in our mold. No, we really offer them the tools, the knowledge, the training to do so, and to make sure that their energy projects and their energy collaboration projects become more successful, become more ambitious, and bear fruit and can be replicated elsewhere. We do that by working in a very structured way over a couple of years. It all starts with a toolkit that we offer. Tell more about that in a second. A unique toolkit that offers 3 practical tools. We are at work in 3 regions in Europe to validate those tools, to make sure that they really meet their purpose of supporting companies, of supporting ecoregions and clusters. After we have successfully gone through validation, we are scaling up to 10 additional ecoregions. And those are not just clusters that we found on the left and the right. No, those are clusters that have been identified as high potential clusters in the European Thermal Atlas before. So if we scale up, we are sure that we're going to reach those areas where it really matters, where there is a huge demand for energy and where there's also, very important, a huge potential to reduce it. And finally, of course, I would say as the logical next step, we're scaling up further to the other 80 high impact regions that are left on that priority list of the European Thermal Atlas. So this approach, we start from practical toolkit. We back it up with a few nice educational methods to make sure that it gets used, that it comes across, that people get used to it. We try it out, then we scale it up. And finally, of course, we communicate about it. One of the ways we communicate is during conferences like these, in presentations like these. An ecoregion, as I mentioned before, is a collaboration built around an industrial park or an industrial site. The industrial site is at the heart of the region, and it's linked to its surroundings by district heating and cooling systems. There are a lot of renewables on site and around it, and there's a common energy management system in place, or it will soon be in place. A very important notion to be able to talk about an ecoregion is that there's a kind of an anchor organization, a body that takes responsibility for energy management in the area. Could be a local development authority or a regional development authority. Sometimes it's a company association. It could be anything in between, public, private, whatever. But there's really an organization of stakeholders that claims that energy collaboration and sustainability are at the heart of what it does. We work with 3 regions currently. First one is in Antwerp, this in Belgium. The second one is in Nyborg in Denmark. The third one, Lombardy in Italy. 3 regions with considerable industrial presence, with district heating and cooling systems in place or almost in place, but with very different challenges. Nyborg is about upgrading the existing district heating and cooling system to make sure that it's completely carbon free. Antwerp is about linking its industrial parks to a district heating and cooling system that is being built. And in Italy, in Lombardy, it's about recovering all the waste heat from some very intensive metallurgic plants. Now, the heart of RACES is its toolbox. The toolbox consists of 3 tools. A self-assessment tool that allows a cluster or an organization to get an objective first idea about the state of play of its energy collaboration potential. The legal decision support tool is a really valuable tool that helps you make sure that you've got the right kinds of contracts in place for energy collaboration, because usually that's one of the major stumbling stones that you meet when you're building an ecoregion. And finally, the energy management platform is a software tool that allows you to objectively get an idea of the quantity and the kind of energy flows that you've got. All 3 tools have been developed by now, and they are slowly becoming available. They will be made fully available over the next 6 months online via the RACES website. The self-assessment tool, which is based on an Excel sheet and made available online. The legal decision support tool, which is an online tool with a document, of course, because it helps you to generate contracts behind it, and the energy management platform, which is a cloud-based software tool. Now, we don't only offer the tools, we also offer the training package to make sure that everyone is able to use those tools. The training package consists of 3 main pillars: training materials, a serious board game, and a library of cases that gives you an idea of what it feels like in practice to build an ecoregion. The training materials are a compilation of what you would typically understand by training material. So think of webinars, presentations, documents, case studies, those things that you can use to really get a background on what energy clustering and energy collaboration mean. The serious board game is a great one. This really is a board game where you can work together, but also compete a little bit in building the best possible district heating and cooling network and exchange of heat in a country called Macedonia. You have to collaborate to get as much waste heat as possible in the system. And at the same time, you have to compete a little bit to make sure that you get the best possible bottom line for yourself. This is a great way to get a first idea about district heating and cooling, what the concepts are that are at play, which roadblocks you may come across, and it's just a great way to get people collaborating and talking about it. And finally, the use case library, of course, is a collection of concrete cases they can use to get an idea of what it feels like in practice. 10 minutes are not long, but I hope I gave you a first idea about RACES and what it is. And for the rest, I am glad to invite you to visit us on the website races.eu.